Hello, hope everyone's having a fantastic day. This is Tyson with TJC Wholesale. I'm going to do a walk around of this container right here. This is one that we're delivering to a customer in South Carolina. But I wanted to do a walk around and kind of show you what a used container will look like. Used containers never perfect. They always have dents, dings, and surface rust, as you can see. You can see that it looked like maybe at some point in its life a forklift or something rubbed up against that wall. Some little dents there. It's a good solid container though. There's no holes, no rust through. This is a wind and watertight container. I actually purchased this one as a cargo worthy container. You can see that there will be some surface rust. Let's take a closer look at some of that though. You can see that it's not deep rust at all, and a lot of times the peeling paint it can stick out a little bit more and make it look like a worse problem than what it actually is. So look around on this side. Now there's container numbers all over these containers, just so you know. This is the container number right here. So if anyone ever asks about the container number, that's what they're referring to. And they'll be on every side of the container, even on the roof in most cases. That way they can identify it no matter what. Because if they're on a crane, an overhead crane or something, in a shipping yard, they need to be able to identify them. They can't see them from any other angle. See if I can zoom out a little bit more. Thankfully this is a wide angle camera too. But you can see that dents, dings, and surface rust. The door should function too. Some of them are going to be tight, a little bit tight to open and close. It's just the nature of a used container. Some of them are a little tough to operate the latching mechanisms. I'll show you a trick if yours is kind of tough to open and close. But let's first do a walkthrough of the inside. Now this isn't really typically too normal. You can see there's something on the floor here that had gotten on the floor at some point in the life of this container. It's kind of like I don't know if it was oil or what exactly. But this is actually the first container where I've seen this like this. So I don't know what they transported in here, but containers will have vents. Sometimes you'll find them closed like this where they tape them off. Containers can have patches as well. A used wind and watertight cargo worthy container can still have patches, but they shouldn't be leaking. When they repair these containers, like you can see right here, they use the same kind of metal. They're required to use the same kind of metal these containers are made out of, which is quartz and steel. And that is a anti-corrosive metal. How it works is when it's exposed to the air and the moisture and stuff, it will create a patina coat of rust that seals the surface of the metal and helps prevent it from rusting further. It's not that it can't rust further, but it's a very, very slow process, and it will last for years and years and years and years. I've picked one up from the early 1970s that was sitting on the ground its entire life and not even close to a sign of rust through. There's another patch right there. Okay. Now we'll come to the outside. I'll shut this container. Sorry, I'm just by myself today, so don't have anyone else to operate the camera. That's the door. These are the latching mechanisms right here. Sometimes one will go in this way and the other will go in that way. Sometimes they'll both open out this way. Just depends on the manufacturer and the container. But I like to start with this inside one to get it started. Once you get it started, make sure you come to this side and get it started too, because you want them both to start catching. And a lot of times once you start pushing one in, it'll kind of suck the other one in too. But and it can vary from container to container. Sometimes you'll have to work one before the other, or you have to work them in a certain manner in order for them to work the way that they're supposed to. See, that one's a little bit, ouch. That one's a little bit tough. See that? And they're normally not quite this bad. But if you do have a problem with them latching like that, or let's say you pick up a container and it's really, really hard to push those in. As you can see, I was just doing it with one hand and it wasn't too terribly bad. Getting it the rest of the way is, you gotta put a little bit more into it, but nature of the beast. So I'm just not pushing it back all the way is what it looks like. I'll get that in just a second. I might have to work them back and forth a little. I might have to latch this side before I latch that side. But anyway, so if you do have that problem, I'll say you get one that's really tough. A lot of times it's because the container got knocked out of square, or maybe one of these latching mechanisms, like right here you see on the container, got bent up or got bent down, and so it binds up on you. But most of the time the container's not square completely, and even if you level it perfectly, it still won't, because it got tweaked over time just enough that it makes it so it binds up a little bit as you're trying to close it. And what you can do is you can either jack up one corner or the other corner, whichever way you need to go, a little bit higher than the other side, and it can tweak it enough that it will prevent it from binding up. And if that doesn't work, then you may need to take a grinder to these pieces right here, and when you'll have to look at it when you're trying to close it and see where it's touching and where it's binding up, and you'll take a grinder and you'll just grind that surface down a little bit to make it so that it's not having as much resistance when you go to latch it closed. That actually works quite well. I have had a few containers that have had that problem that I have had to grind down, but so it is something that can happen, and that's a solution to fixing the problem. If the doors are really stiff when you try to open them and close them, sometimes crap will get in these hinges over time a little bit. And if you just get some lubricant, WD-40, some silicone lubricant or something like that, if you do that, spray it in the hinges, then and work it back and forth, most of the time they'll open pretty freely. So let's go to this side. Close this door. Before I do, let's check the sill, make sure the sill's good. The sill does look good. Looks like they had repaired it at one point, which you'll find sometimes. But as long as it sills, that's what matters. And you also got to keep in mind, these have a double sill. It's not just a sill on the outside, it's a sill on the inside. So it's double protection. Let's say the sill on the outside is not working perfectly fine. You still have the sill on the inside that will help keep water out. So keep that in mind. There we go. Inner and outer sills. One other thing to mention is the way these containers work is the weight is all focused on the corners. The front and back corners is where you have the weight. If you look at these, you can see that the beams going across this way are actually set up a little bit higher, and they're not even touching. They're not even touching the ground or whatever they're sitting on at all, because these corner posts sit down about 3/4 of an inch or so lower than what these beams are. So you can see that all of the weight rests on these corner beams, the corner posts. So when you have it loaded onto a trailer, you kind of have to be careful. And what I like to do is get some 1x6s, 1x8s, something. If you have a trailer that might flex, problem is you got all the way to the container on the back and all on the front, and if you set that there, it'll bow the trailer in the middle. It'll push down on the bottom, the back side, and it'll push down a bit on the front side, and it will bow it. If you want to prevent that issue, what you can do is get a 1x4, because that's actually 3/4 of an inch thick, and it lines up pretty much perfectly with this gap right here. And you put it under here so that it distributes the weight evenly across the entire surface of the container. That's a solution that I found, because there have been trailers I've loaded these on where it will bow the trailer in the middle a little, and it's just enough that it pushes it down just enough where it will force the cause the tires, if I hit a bump or something, to touch the deck of the trailer. And that's a solution I have found to help eliminate that problem and distribute the weight evenly across the entire deck. But container number, you can see the container number over here. Your weight capacities and stuff are stamped on there as well. This is a 9.5 foot high, so it's a 40-foot high cube container. They make 40-foot standard height, which is 8.5 feet high, and 20-foot high cube and standard, 45 footers, 53 footers. But this is an overview of a 40-foot container and kind of what to look for when you're buying a used container. This is considered a Winham watertight, cargo-worthy container, so keep that in mind. I hope this video was helpful to you guys when you're looking and going to inspect them. Always inspect the container whenever you go to pick it up from a container yard. When you buy it, always inspect it before they load it onto the trailer, because if you're gonna find an issue, you want to find it then, not later. One other thing I'll point out, sorry guys, I keep forgetting a few things. This is the data plate right here. It'll give you the year of manufacture and other pieces of information. This, for instance, will show when it was made, and this is a 2004 container, almost a 2005, 9 of 2004 it looks like, is when that was made. So, sitting about 16 years old. All right, well, hope this helped you guys. If it did, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you guys want to see more stuff on these shipping containers, because that is what we deal with. If you're looking to buy one, please find the contact information in the details of the video. Everybody take care and have a great day.